It is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
Yeah.
That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, along for the ride as well. Plouffe, we're going to be so busy today with all four series going. We don't even have time for a tip of the cap, and you know what? I love it.
Yeah, what tip the cap to who? Let's go. We got a lot of ball to play today, Chris.
Let's start it off where the season could end for the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers. That's right. They are down 2-1 in the best of 5 series because Petco was going nuts, thanks in part to the man. It feels like they can't ever get out.
On an 0-2 pitch, a missile. Fernando Tatis Jr. Electric.
You know what's great is we know who we are, and we know what we're capable of. And I keep saying it all the time. We don't have to depend on one person. Obviously Fernando is kind of putting it on his back right now, and that's something special to witness, to see, but it's not always got to be him, and we have so much other guys that's capable of doing it.
You're right, Xander Bogaerts. It doesn't have to be him, but it is him right now. In the playoffs, he is 10 of 18 with 4 homers right now. I know that sometimes the situation forces you to pitch to him, but I ain't throwing anything to him right now.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, and then the situation arises, and it almost seems like it doesn't matter. If you have to put the 4 up, because even if you try to pitch around him, he's going to get the barrel to the ball. What he's doing is incredible. That's all we've ever asked. After Fernando went through, his suspension, we said, hey, just get back to being the player that you were, and people will tend to forget about all that. And he's done that, Chris.
Do you think that people have forgotten? Do you think
I think a lot of people have forgotten about it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so.
When I watch him, obviously I know the past. I understand it happened, but I'm just enjoying watching someone play the game the way he plays the game, because it is special. Like his talent level is as high as it gets. It's elite, and we're seeing it basically on a nightly basis right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think about it at all. That's maybe a legacy discussion somewhere down the road, but it's not for now. And he is doing things that we just don't see very often in October, and that is reserved for very, very special players in the history of this sport. And oh, by the way, something happens when he sees Dodger blue, and he actually talked about it afterward. He said it was so nice that I've kind of continued the tradition that my father set forth, who, of course, hit 2 grand slams in a single inning off of the Dodgers many moons ago. But he's got 22 homers in 67 games all time against their rival.
It's a beautiful thing, man. That's exactly, if you're a San Diego Padres fan, that's about the number one thing you could ask for, is for your star player to come up against your rival and do those things. We got to love it.
Although that was the biggest blow of the 6-run second inning, that was not the biggest play, certainly. That was made by Manny Machado on the base paths of all things, right? Freddie Freeman, nice stop from his knees trying to make a throw. Ball ends up in left field, and we realized afterward, because it hit Manny Machado, who ran on the inside part of the base paths, he hit a little grass there, did not get called for interference. It was really a smart play by the vet.
Yeah, so this rule is so crazy. If you can ask 10 baseball players, Major League Baseball players, like, give me all the rules about the baseline and establishing it, and they won't know. I promise you they won't, because it's different from home to first. It's different when there's a tag trying to be applied. That's when, like, the 3 feet thing comes into play. Right, if you read the rule is you can basically run wherever you want in that situation. There really isn't a baseline to establish. It isn't 3 feet like most people think. You can kind of run wherever you want, and I don't know if Manny knew that or not. I'm not really sure. I'd love to ask him if he actually knew that rule. I know that he understood the situation and didn't want a double play to happen. Mm-hmm. You are taught to run on the inside there. He went a little bit above and beyond. But in the end, ball caroms off his helmet, and you're right. I mean, was one of the things that started the inning from hell.
It was.
You talk about the pitch clock violation of Walker Buehler to Manny Machado that set him up a 1-0 count.
Yeah,
gets a base hit. It was not a good inning for the Dodgers.
By the way, so they could have called him out on interference, I assume, if they make that call on the field. It's non-reviewable at this point. But they could have called him out, right?
But it's what he did was not against the rules, so you can't call him out.
So even that far inside the grass?
According to the rule, unless if it's like a tag play where a guy is going to tag you, then that is when we see pickles,
right?
That is when you establish your baseline and you have the 3 feet.
Got it.
That's not a tag play, so you can really run wherever you want to run.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Hey, hit me up if I got that wrong. I'm pretty sure I got that right. I've been around the game for a long time. I know it's confusing. That is my understanding of the rule.
I would like to get this
and nobody argued it. That's the thing that makes me think I am understanding the rule right, because nobody argued it.
Yeah, well, the thing is that once again, that's a non-reviewable play, and in my opinion, we have too many plays that happen inside the bases that are non-reviewable. I do wish that they would go back and look at that, and maybe somewhere
It's
down
not
the road.
It's not reviewable, but Dave Roberts could have said, "Hey, can you guys talk about that?"
Yes, that's accurate. And I'm not saying that, that he should have been called out. I'm just saying that I think we're all a little bit confused.
Yes.
And you want to figure it out at some point. So, yeah, that was for the Dodgers an inning from hell, because there were 4 balls that did not leave the infield that had huge implications on that. The one we just saw, the one where Miggy Rowe, if you're going to ask that guy right now, I'm sure he totally regrets not getting it out at second base and flipping the ball to Gavin Lux, because that's the one I felt like really opened the floodgates a little bit.
Yeah, and I think you have to give credit to Jackson Merrill, because I don't think that I don't mind the play from Miggy, because he thought that's his chance to turn a double play, is just getting there and getting rid of the ball as fast as possible. I don't think he took into consideration how fast Jackson Merrill was going to get to second base. He almost did it again later in the game. And yeah, these were all things that San Diego did well, running the base pass to set up, the Peralta double, the Tatis homer that led to all the runs were scored.
Yeah, it was 6-5 after Teo hit the grand slam, and then the Padres, they slammed the door shut. They retired 16 straight Dodgers. Tanner Scott continues to just look so filthy in those at-bats against Ohtani. And then Suarez, who was a big question mark coming in, looked as good as he had over the last 3 months of the season. And that is huge for this team. They're walking a tightrope, a 1-run lead. And I'm guarantee you at the beginning of the series, if you said you had a 1-run lead in game 3 of a 1-1 series and you're handing the ball to Robert Suarez, how are you feeling? Most Padres fans would be like, shit, not very good. But damn, he's looked awesome.
He's looked great. They had Tanner Scott to go through the top of the order in the 8th inning. I think that helps out a lot. But yeah, I mean, he got 4 outs tonight and he looked nasty. I mean, the whole pen looked nasty. The Dodgers, after Teoscar Hernandez's grand slam, didn't have a base runner except for Freddie Freeman's base hit. It was 4 innings of perfect ball by them? Like crazy.
Can I ask you one other funny thing?
Okay.
Did you think that Jerks and Profar caught Mookie Betts' ball in the first inning?
I saw him going back. I saw the small wall, and I was like, there's no freaking way this is happening again. And he got his glove there, Chris. How close was that?
It was insane.
Mookie thought he caught it. He was running back to the dugout, defeated, dude.
That was insane. All right, so let's look ahead to game 4. Dodgers season, once again, comes down to this: a bullpen game.
Yeah.
And the Padres are going with Dylan Cease. Which of those 2 decisions surprises you more?
I mean, I don't think the Dodgers really have a choice. I feel like it's just all hands on deck for them. So they can call it a bullpen game, call it whatever you want. Like, put your spikes on. We got to win this game, win or go home. I don't know if either of them really. How many pitches did Dylan Cease throw in that first game?
I thought it was low 70s.
Yeah, I feel like, coming back on what I assume it was his 4 days rest. I don't mind either of these decisions. I don't.
Well, he had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, so it's 3 days rest.
3 days rest, yeah.
Yeah. he didn't
I'm
look
sure Martin Perez will be ready to go. I mean,
right.
again, I think for them, like they kind of have all hands on deck as well for this game. They want to close it out in San Diego.
Yeah, but they still have got to feel pretty good because Darvish
They
was
feel
so
great.
good.
They feel great about where they're at, Chris.
Yeah, even if they have to go back to Los Angeles, they're going to have the starting pitching edge just based on what happened in game 2 with Darvish. So this thing could end. We'll give our predictions about what we think will happen on Wednesday coming up a little bit later. But man, it has been so entertaining on, off the field. Interesting
The fact that the
columns.
Dodgers made that a game, Teoscar doing that,
Yeah, that
hitting
was
that
cool.
grand slam, made that a game because everyone thought that was over after that
Right.
6-run inning, so.
For us as baseball fans, I don't care who you root for. Obviously, if you're a Dodger fan or a Padre fan, it's different stakes. But if you're just a baseball fan, it was awesome to see him hit the grand slam because it gave us some intrigue, those last 5 innings, which was really, really good. Let's move across the country to the other divisional series where the Mets will be trying to end Phillies' season. Wednesday, Sean Manaea was fantastic. He worked into the 8th. He got plenty of offensive help early on from their first baseman who gave a repeat performance.
And he swings at the first pitch, launches it to right, back Castellanos, Pete Alonso, back at Citi Field, 1-0 New York.
Yeah, we were 11 games under, and we grinded through that, got right around 500. We just can keep continuing to believe in each other and keep continuing to just trust the process. And, I mean, the amount of resiliency that this team has is just truly incredible.
You know what? I don't know what's going to happen moving forward with the Mets. I'm so happy for Pete Alonso that he had that moment because he's had some moments here when we basically begged him to. You predicted it as well, but all that happened away from home, which is special in its own right. But the fact that he could give the Mets an early lead in a 1-1 series in their first game back at Citi Field in almost 2 weeks, that's really cool.
I think it's amazing for him. Yeah, of course. He doesn't know how many more games he's going to get to play in front of his home crowd. And I think that's all. I don't know how much he's thinking about that right now. Let's be honest. I think he's locked into the series. He's locked in for his guys in the clubhouse there. When you have a hit like that he hit off Devin Williams, I mean, how can you not just start to have all the confidence in the world? The swing certainly has gotten better. I talked about that on Talking Baseball a little bit. Wasn't that bad of a pitch by Aaron Nola. Top of the zone, out, away. But his swing is so good right now, man. Taking the ball the opposite way like that with powers. And we've said it before a couple of times on the show, that's reserved for the elite power hitters. And he certainly is that.
So a few other things. Sean Manaea was incredible as he picked up his first playoff win. And I think I remember his first foray into the postseason might have been that wild card game that he pitched with the A's against Tampa Bay. And I think Yandy Diaz took him yard on the first pitch or something crazy like that. And we've talked about this a bunch, especially in the last few weeks, how he was supposed to be the next great Oakland pitcher. And it just never felt like it worked out. And then, in the offseason, he's one of the Driveline clients that totally changed things, crossfire, the whole bit, and ends up doing this on a day where his aunt passed away. It's amazing that it all came together for him.
I'm very happy. He's an incredible human being. That's why I feel this way for him. All the success on the field is great, and I'm happy for Mets fans, but personally, he's just a good dude who deserves this. He's put the work in. He's gone through some ups and downs like you're talking about, and he's continued to make the adjustments. And how often do we say that about big league ball players as their careers, get a little bit longer? The league catches up to you. It's a chess match. You got to make these adjustments and do all these things. He's done them. He's continued to kind of not reinvent himself, but make these adjustments that make him what he is now. And right now, Chris, he's an elite pitcher in the big leagues. And he has been for the last, 4 months?
Mm-hmm. He's been great. The biggest part of the game was obviously they had still just a 2-0 lead thanks to a couple of solo homers by Alonso and Winker. And then first two guys get on in the 6th. And here comes the middle of the order. And he gets Harper on some nasty stuff. And then Castellanos on the soft liner double play where Schwarber gets doubled off of second. And that, I mean, you see the primal scream from a guy who you didn't know had that part in him. But that kind of, it felt like that ended the game almost. I know it didn't because you still have 3 more innings to play. But Philly just wasn't doing much, and that was their huge opportunity with their big guns coming up.
Agreed, and we've seen the emotion get the best of some people. We talked about that with Rodon in the Yankees series, but when I was able to keep it in check, I mean, being able to pitch into the 8th inning and save your bullpen and just dominate these Phillies hitters, I mean, it's a very impressive performance by him.
Philadelphia's biggest issue, in my opinion, this vaunted offense has been extremely top-heavy. And that's been the thing with Philly when it's gone on these runs in the last couple of years is that they have gotten some production from dudes you wouldn't pick out of the lineup to do it. But they're 6 through 9 hitters, 2 for 34. Y'all need to show up. Not all 4 of you, whoever's 6 through 9 on Wednesday, but 2 of you need to start toting the rock a little bit.
Yeah, Thompson's trying to figure out who it is. He didn't play Stott today because it was a lefty, but is it going to be Stott tomorrow, or is it going to be? I mean, there's another lefty's pitching, so is he going to be in the lineup? Wouldn't you make that switch? Wouldn't you put the guy that's had these big postseason moments in the lineup? I don't care, lefty. Bohm is finding it. He had some decent swings with nothing really to show for it. He got thrown out by Tyrone Taylor there on the one hit that he did have. I mean, Rob Thompson has been mixing and matching a lot at the bottom of the lineup. He's just got to find the right formula, man.
All right, so it is a pair of lefties on the mound. Ranger Suarez, the all-star, on to try and save Philly's season going against Jose Quintana. All right, I'm going to give you the terrible – here's the bad news and then the worst news for you, Philly. You're starting a guy whose ERA in July was over 6. In August, only 2 starts, but it was 5. In September, it was over 6. It was inflated by a 2-inning outing in his last appearance of the year against Washington, where he gave up a ton of runs. His playoff history is great. A 1.62 ERA in 9 appearances. That includes 7 starts. So that was kind of the bad news with the regular season end for Suarez. Should I give him the worst news or not?
Yes.
Okay. Jose Quintana was arguably the best starting pitcher in baseball down the stretch. 2 earned runs in his last 31 innings. That includes a dominant playoff effort against Milwaukee. So, what do you have to say to that, Doctor?
I think that these guys are professional hitters in the Phillies lineup, and they understand their backs are against the wall, and they just got to come through. It doesn't matter who's on the mound, lefty, righty, guy's been dealing, doesn't matter. This is a team that understands what's at stake. I feel like their bats are going to be better tomorrow. There's a great Nick Castellanos quote out there. Did you hear it?
I did.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, this is close to death as they're going to get as a team. So they should be feeling the most alive. Maybe we'll see the bats come alive tomorrow, Chris. I don't know, man. Hey, what would be nice for them? A Schwarber pump job to lead things off.
Yeah, sure. The problem is when he did that in game 1, they forgot that they had to play the rest of the game.
That's true.
So who knows if that's it. What they need are multiple hits in an inning.
It feels like the wind got taken out of their sails this game, but just remember what happened in game 2, dude. Like them coming back like that, and they feel like they had all the momentum in the world. So we can't let one game wash that away, can we?
No. The beautiful thing about this sport in particular, it is so different than or the NHL, because the guy who starts with the ball every play is different every day. And, in the NBA, let's be honest, the same 8 guys come playoff time are all a part of the rotation. You make very, very few changes to a lineup. You usually aren't pulling your best goalie in the NHL. So once again, it's a lot of the same dudes. Here, the guy right in the center of the diamond always changes, and it's what makes this sport so wonderful, and I love it. Let's give our predictions. Do we think there's a Game 5 in either of the National League Division Series?
I sure hope so, man. I predicted there was going to be a game 5 in the Mets Phillies, so I'll continue with that. I said the Dodgers had to win game 3 or else they're in big time trouble. It feels like San Diego has all the momentum, but I'll tell you what, that one swing by Teoscar really makes me think that the Dodgers can get it done. They're going to have to slug. I said that before this series. Obviously, it's not going to be a pitcher's duel with them. Not right now. Not the way they're lined up. So maybe the bullpen game will do them well. Maybe that'll change the situation. They've been giving up runs early in games. Maybe that'll change it. I think they're going to have to hit. So they can do it. How about, I'll say yes, 2 game 5s. Yeah, I'll say 2 game 5s. I want more of these series. I think these are the 2 most interesting series that we've had so far in the postseason, and I want to see Shohei come out and do his thing. I want to see a Tanner Scott Shohei matchup again. I love those. I think those are amazing. Dodger fans don't love them. Shohei surely doesn't love them. But I'll go 2. Yeah, let's do it, man. Even though everything in my brain right now says no, like these are going to be end tomorrow. I used to, bet sports back in the day. Whenever my mind tells you something like that, go the opposite. So I'm going to say 2 game 5s. Fade the fade.
Okay. Dodgers, Padres, I think it ends at Petco. I think we're going to see a situation very similar to what we saw in 2022. I think that place is going to be jumping. I don't know what Dylan Cease we're going to see, but I am worried about which Dodger pitchers have it and which ones don't in a full bullpen game. Then in the other one, 5-game series, absolutely not. My Metsies are going to finish this thing off. That's right. We started this journey together on May 29th, and we will continue it on October 9th all the way to the NLCS. Can't wait to see you there. Go get them, Metsies.
If the Mets freaking win the World Series, like you have to be in the hype video. You have to be in the hype video.
What about the parade? Forget the hype video. Don't I get my own?
Like I was embarrassed when the Mariners like snuck into the playoffs and got eliminated by the Astros after I called them dead. This is so embarrassing.
We're not quite there yet, but we're inching closer by the hour. All right, we will break down the 2 game 3s in the American League Series. But first, this word from my buddy Trevor Plouffe.
Yes, Chris. Let me get this up. I have it up right here. I swear I do. After 162 games in 180 days, we're finally here, people. We're playing this playoff baseball. October baseball is the best, and you need to get in on all of the playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook. From same-game parlays to live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings has you covered until a champ is crowned. Will it be either team in New York? Will it be a team in Southern California? We don't know. But this is what I do know. Right now, all new customers who bet $5 will instantly get $200 in bonus bets when you use code baseball today. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets to bet anytime homers on DraftKings. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. And like I said, new customers use promo code baseball today. Bet just $5 on any wager. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code baseball today only at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
For the first time in 9 years, the playoffs return to Kansas City. Game 3, it's going to be a ton of fun between the Royals and the Yankees. Both Bobby Witt Jr., Aaron Judge have struggled mightily. Is it a question of whichever superstar gets going first that team's going to end up winning?
It doesn't really seem like that. I think both teams would like that. I think I would go even the opposite of that. What supporting cast can get the job done? I think that's who ends up winning this series. You can rely on those guys. I really do think that they both eventually figure it out and get going. Judge obviously has the proven track record. Bobby Witt this year has been incredible. I mentioned some of the things I've seen on his swing, just a little fast to the ball right now. But yeah, I mean, it's who's going to get the big hit on the bottom of the lineup. I think that's what we've been seeing so far in these series is what about the other guys? The guys that are to come up 6 through 9, like the team that has those guys perform usually has the advantage. So I'll say no, that doesn't necessarily matter about those guys. Although, yes, can they take the game over? Of course. But I'd rather say, hey, 6 through 9, go drive in a run, go steal a base, go get on base for those guys. I think the team that does that better will end up winning the series.
Okay. It's interesting. I did a little deep dive on the numbers for each of these guys against the pitchers that are currently on the playoff rosters for the other squad. And it's about the worst matchup each guy could ask for. Bobby Witt Jr. extra base hits in 45 at bats against the Yankees currently on the postseason roster, a sub 500 OPS. Aaron Judge is hitting 169 against the guys on the Royals, a K rate of over 42%. He too, 2 extra base hits in 71 at bats. So I'm not so sure that those two are even going to get unlocked in this series. And with that being said, they'll probably both go deep. But it is kind of interesting that like they're playing their kryptonite a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know the stats were that bad. I talked to Jake a little bit about Aaron Judge and his postseason stats because overall they're not very good. He says,
Right.
that was a lot from 2022. He has had some series where he's gone off and he's hit homers and all these things, but he's also struck out like
A ton.
almost 40% of the time in the postseason so far in his career. So again, yeah, I think either of these guys, even with those numbers that you just said, they could get going at any given time. I think the team that does better at the bottom, who gets guys on, who turns the lineup over with runners on base, that's the team that's going to end up taking this series.
Yeah, it's been game 1 was fun. Game 2 obviously wasn't. It just hasn't been a lot of spark to it. But we'll see. We still have at least 2 more games to go. The pitching matchup, obviously Seth Lugo, who's going to finish top 5 in the AL Cy Young voting. He's going to get the home start for the Kansas City Royals. Clark Schmidt got the call over Luis Heel. Here is Aaron Boone, the Yankees skipper, on what he likes most about Wednesday's starter.
The confidence has always been there. I can picture the confidence back in the bubble in 2020, when he was still very raw, but flashing all this stuff. And there was that confidence to follow. And now you're just seeing a guy that really, I feel like he loves pitching and loves all that goes with that.
Is this the right guy to send out there?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, it's either him or Luis Heel. Luis Heel kind of slowed down towards the end of the season through a lot of innings. I think you could go. I don't think either one is typically a poor decision, to be honest with you. But over 85 innings pitched this year, Clark Schmidt has looked really good. He came on back in September and looked good. And for all the reasons that Aaron just talked about, his stoicism and what Aaron believes his ability will be to pitch in these big moments. I don't think it's a bad decision, Chris.
No, I think it's fine. That's the direction I expected them to lean. I think Heel is an interesting dude out of the bullpen, as long as he's got his control under control. And Schmidt, he did have a taste of the postseason in 2022, and he would like to spit it out because it was not very good. He only had 2 relief appearances, one against Cleveland, one against Houston. He gave up runs in both, and it wasn't pretty at all. So maybe he'll get a chance to make different kind of memories here.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the meantime, for Seth Lugo, it's a great opportunity for him. I listened to his 7.5-minute interview, which I am now going to do on a nightly basis when I can't sleep, because my man, I will tell you this. He has been great to watch this year. I've watched a bunch of his starts. He's been awesome. Yeah, we're not. He's not giving the motivational speech anytime soon. That's perfectly fine. They paid him.
Corey Kluber has a podcast now. You never know how these things are going to go.
I cannot believe that.
You never know how these things are going to go. Maybe if he teams up with Corey Kluber, look out.
It could be great. It could be great. But he's been great this year. He had 2 starts against the Yankees. I think he went 7 innings both times. The one earlier this year, he gave up 4 runs. The other one, I think it was like 2 hits, no runs, double-digit strikeout performance. I think the Yankees are going to be in trouble. Doesn't he throw like 8 pitches?
Yeah, it throws a lot of different pitches. I've talked about that before. It just makes it so difficult to game plan for someone like that, especially a guy like that who throws them for strikes. You can have 8 pitches. If you can't throw them for strikes, it doesn't mean anything. You start to eliminate everything. But he's a guy that can kind of throw them all. So it's just sometimes you're going to be guessing up there. You try to get in advantageous counts, try to see if he throws one pitch in particular in that count. They're going to be top stepping it, seeing what's working for him, what he's going to. It really is. We say chess match a lot in baseball. It's talking about hitters versus pitchers. Against a guy like him, it really is a chess match.
Tigers. Let's move on to the other series, which is also tied at a game apiece. We have our first playoff baseball in Motown in a decade. You think AJ Hinch and the boys are going to be ready?
I mean, you come to this, environment and on the road, and it's a 5-game series, and even look at the other series, when you get that emotional win and go back home, 1-1, and you feel like you got one on their home turf. We now have 2 games at our place. We know it's going to be electric. We know Detroit has waited a really long time for a playoff game. We're going to have a couple of them and a chance to take control of this series.
That place is going to be jumping. And for a young squad, the youngest one in the postseason, we talked a little bit about having to harness your energy. I imagine that they're going to have to do that, but they're going to ride an emotional wave that's going to be crazy.
I mean, yeah, they already had to play in Cleveland, which was also crazy. And, you saw interviews from Kerry Carpenter and who else was it? Parker Meadows, I believe, was. Or was it Scooble? He was talking about how he loved the energy of the crowd and how great it was. And so you look at that and you say, okay, and now it's your home crowd. So you're just going to draw positive energy from them. I don't think it'll be a problem. I think, in fact, they'll thrive because of it. I mean, I'm very excited to see this Tiger team. And I said this to Talking Jake. I was like, is it as easy? We set our postseason brackets, right? Mine is in shambles. It's in shambles right now. Is it as easy as just saying, let's really break it down? Who's hot coming into the postseason? Because it seems like that's what it's been right now. The Mets were hot. They've been playing playoff games forever. The Padres, best record since whatever the heck it was. And the Tigers having to fight to get into the postseason. Like, is it that what it is nowadays with baseball?
Not entirely. The Braves had to fight and scratch and claw to get in. The Padres knew they were going to be in for a while. And the Braves got dusted in 2 games. So
decimated Braves, but yes.
Decimated. But they had to get in. They did get in.
I don't know, man. It seems like in hindsight right now, you could really just said, yeah, those teams are playing the best right now. Their rosters are full and complete. Like these are the teams we should have picked. And like the Tigers kind of feel that way. I don't mean to say it to your Guardians, but they kind of feel like the team that's playing with momentum, who has their full cast of characters that they're used to playing with. And here we are. This is the game of baseball. This is how we play it. It's been working out for them lately, Chris.
Yeah, but let's be honest. The last 3 months of the season, they were a better team than the one that they're facing in this series. That's just the way.
But they also could be down 2-0 right now.
They could have been. They could have
very easily been down 2-0.
So let's take a look at the pitching matchup. As of Tuesday night, the Tigers did not announce a starter. We know that they're going to go with a bullpen game. We just don't know who's going to get it right out of the gate. They went with Holton in game 1, and that was not good. He didn't retire a batter. And then on the other side, you got Alex Cobb, who hasn't pitched in a major league game in 5 weeks and hasn't pitched in a playoff game in 11 years. In fact, the last guy that went a decade in between playoff starts was Brett Saberhagen.
Oh.
So we'll see how this one goes. Which team should be more scared of what is happening on the mound in game 3, Detroit or Cleveland?
You phrased the question a little differently in our email. You said bigger question mark. Now you're saying afraid. I don't know who should be afraid. Nobody should be afraid.
So
Chris.
what's the bigger question?
Bigger question mark, I think, is Alex Cobb. The Tigers are used to doing bullpen games. This is what they've been doing. It is their formula. It is what has been it's been working for them. Obviously, game 1 didn't in the first inning, but this is what they're comfortable doing. Alex Cobb on the mound. How many innings did he pitch this year? 15?
I think 16 and 3
16
starts.
and a third. 16 and a third innings. Hasn't thrown since September 1st. I love Alex Cobb. The last time we saw him, he was carrying a perfect game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still think that's the bigger question mark here. And he's not a typical starter. This is a bullpen game for Cleveland as well. He's the bulk guy. You talked about him going one time through the order. I think they would jump for joy if he got one time through the order.
I think that's fair. It'll be interesting to see which team can actually frickin' score some runs. We've played 18 innings. In 3 half innings, we've had some sort of scoring. Cleveland
Really?
scored 5 in the first. They got 2
Yeah.
later in the game, and Detroit scored 3 in the ninth in game 2, and that's been it. That's
Wow.
been it. Well, these teams' offenses are not very
Yeah.
good. These are not playoff caliber
Not the
offenses.
strong suit of these teams.
I'm not a very strong swimmer. So, yeah, that's kind of the way it goes. We can guarantee there will be a game 4 in both
Yes.
Detroit and in Kansas City on Thursday. So we know we'll
Yes.
be breaking down those games. That'll be fun. But first, we got to get through game 3. Today's edition of Baseball Today, brought to you by Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Booking.com,
Yeah.
Divisional series. So much fun. Then we got the championship series and then the World Series. So a word of advice. It's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn a little bit more about. Yeah, we're talking about your baseball rival cities, even some of these new rivals, courtesy of the postseason. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find the perfect stay for this postseason. Yes, even in your baseball rival cities. As I've told you throughout the divisional round, 3 of these 4 series you can get to in like 2 to 3 hours in a car, right? LA, San Diego, Philly, New York, Detroit, Cleveland. Well, there's still time to show up in one of those cities and check out your favorite team while playing on the road. And there is nothing better than seeing playoff baseball in a totally different venue. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute little bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. So book today on Booking.com, download the Booking.com app, and enjoy your trip. New York Mets, I am not their favorite mascot that was elevated to supreme status in 2024. Grimace has taken over. So right after the Mets took a 2-1 series lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, hey, even Grimace has got to get home. Hopping on the train from Queens back to wherever Grimace lives. Funny or a little too much these days?
I just think if you would show that video to Mets fans before the year, they'd be like, "What is that?" And if you didn't tell them what part of the year it was from, if you didn't tell them it was in October, they'd be like, "What the heck is going on? We're happy, but what is this?" I'm happy for the Mets. They got a lot of shticks going on right now.
They do.
They got the OMG song. They got Grimace. They got the pumpkin. What else they got? I don't know. A lot of stuff going on there, but it's working, Chris. It's working.
Yeah, so imagine there are people who don't love sports.
Oh, Hawk-Tuah Girl's part of it too.
Oh, sure is. Forgot
Yeah.
about that. There are people that don't love sports. So if you were just taking the train somewhere today and a bunch of people start cheering for a dude in a purple suit, what in the heck could you be thinking is going on?
I don't know, man. I don't know. McDonald's is the winner in all of this.
Oh, hell yes, it is. Hell yes, it is.
Unbelievable.
All right. Enjoy the 4 games today. We'll see if the season ends for the top 2 seeds in the National League or if they push it back to their respective homes for a game 5. We'll see which teams will take the series lead in Detroit and in Kansas City. We'll have so much to talk about on Thursday, and we cannot wait. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Thursday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by Booking.com.